Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be making a gluten-free baked apple dessert in our handy dandy Instant Pot. Literally all you have to do to this recipe is add about a quarter cup of oats if you want to crisp it up some. So for this recipe you are going to need 4 or 5 medium-sized Granny Smith apples, some brown sugar, about 3 tablespoons, and a gluten-free flour or baking mix of your choice. I like the Gluten Free Baking and Pancake Mix from Aldi. I find that it is a really versatile tool in baking. An apple core, that is going to make this really easy. You're just gonna core your apples. So now we've got a nice tray full of apple. And we are going to take our nutmeg and our cinnamon and we're gonna dust the apple with these before we put them into the Instant Pot. So maybe half a tablespoon of nutmeg and maybe a teaspoon of cinnamon to start. We are going to use more cinnamon because this is going to be our main flavor. So when you're using an Instant Pot, you always want to have a liquid because that is what's going to help bring it up to pressure. So we are going to turn this on to saute and put 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter in and let that butter start to melt. If you have softened butter, obviously that's going to melt faster. If not, that's fine, butter melts. What do you think we should do next? Add the apples? Exactly. So as that butter starts to melt and starts to sizzle, you are going to add your apples. Your next step is going to be to add some brown sugar. And I'm going to start with about 3 tablespoons, and I'm actually going to use a tablespoon this time. So we're going to stir. We've got our apples, our butter, and our brown sugar so far. Next thing we are going to add is our gluten-free flour. You are going to start to hear that butter sizzle, and that butter is going to start to brown. You want to make sure that you do keep stirring because you don't want the butter to scorch and burn to the bottom of your pan because then it won't come up to pressure when you need it to. If you start to get a really intense sizzle, go ahead and turn that saute off for a little while. So I am going to add our gluten-free flour, and I am going to do 4 tablespoons. 1 and 4. That 4th one was harder to get than it should have been, huh? All right, so now we are going to stir this up again. And you're going to see that butter and flour, they're going to start to combine and start to thicken. The last thing I am going to do before we get this under pressure is actually add some water to get that liquid going. If you're not familiar with an Instant Pot, something to know is you do always need liquid in it in order to bring it up to pressure, but a lot of times you don't need quite as much as a recipe tells you. This is because a lot of times your food that you are pressure cooking releases a liquid. Obviously we're cooking apples right now. That is a very moist fruit. So they're gonna release a lot of liquid, so you don't need a ton. I have seen some Instant Pot guides that say you always need at least 1 cup of water. That is a lie. Do not use a whole cup of water with this. I've got a 2/3 measuring cup here, but it's only half full. So this is approximate. And again, guys, you know my measurements are all approximate. This is approximately 1/3 cup of water, and that's going to be plenty for this. I'm gonna put our 1/3 cup of water in there. Again, I'm going to stir bottom. So if you want to get fancy, this is actually called deglazing the bottom of the pan. And all that means is you scrape stuff off so it's not sticking to the bottom. Okay, so I have my lid on and now I'm going to set my pressure for 5 minutes. Boom, that is it. I forgot to add more cinnamon, which was part of my plan. So we're gonna see how this goes without quite as much cinnamon. We'll find out in a little bit, won't we? So once your apples have finished cooking, you are gonna want to let your pressure release naturally for a little bit, but not too long, not much more than a minute or two, because your apples are going to keep cooking and you don't want them to get soggy. Here we have our baked apple dessert. I pulled mine off the heat as quickly as I can, and I just have my pot sitting on my stove. So I'm just gonna make sure my apples are all nice and well coated with that nice cinnamony flour mixture that we made. And I'm gonna put this in a bowl and try some. So we've got our finished gluten-free baked apple dessert. It is still piping hot. You know what this would probably be really good with would be vanilla ice cream. So if you've managed to find any ice cream in your grocery store, put some vanilla ice cream on top of this and eat it that way. It's good, but it does need more cinnamon. So what I'm gonna do is sprinkle some more cinnamon in my pot that I've still got left, mix it all up, pop it in the fridge, and save it for dessert tonight. Cheers.